because literally there are some people that I believe are like, I just want to own a home because it makes them feel good, and there's some pros and cons to this. But it depends on what you really want, right? Like some people listening to the pod are like, well, a home would be nice. Of course I want a home, but at the same time, like money is really important to me, and it might be more important on the scale than owning a home. So I guess, what do you guys have to say about the goal setting for this? Like,
I think people don't really know what they want because they're conditioned a certain way, and people don't really think through what it actually means to own a home and what it actually means to actually rent. Like actually getting your head around the fact that you might be a renter your whole life is something that most people have never considered, what that really means. Even lots of other cultures are like that. They actually rent their whole life. Our culture is not the norm. Like America's similar to us. They're going through the same issues we are. That a very high majority of people, and increasing, are moving into rental, and they're ending up in retirement with a mortgage, a lot of people. So they're having the same cultural problems, and we're sort of now going through that shift because for some people, it's a massive hit to their ego and just their being that they may not be a property owner and they may not be able to afford to live where they grew up. For a lot of people, that's a real psychological blow that they've lived in a certain area for 30 years and they realise that they cannot afford to live in that area and they have to move somewhere completely different. There are a lot of issues. And then I think it comes down to then looking at the financial side of things, that people do need education around what it means to own a mortgage and what the responsibilities are. And people don't realise, for most people, when they get a mortgage, the repayment they make is generally significantly more than the rent they've been paying. And some people have moved out of their home. Some people might have been living in a parent's rental property, paying less rent. They might have been in a share house with people. And now all of a sudden, they instead of paying $300 or $400 a week, they're paying $700, $1,000 a week. And they haven't really shifted their mindset to, and that's just the rent. And that's just the mortgage. That's not all the other things on top you've got to pay for it.
Yeah. Rates, water, maintenance, power, bills, craziness.
Yeah. Well, don't even add in there getting a couple of dogs or a cat and how much they cost.
Or furnishing it, or doing your maintenance on it, or your wife wanting that nice patio out the back. But before we jump a little bit more into it, like this is how I was conditioned through. My mum's a career-long school teacher, father tradesman, turned he was jack of all trades, went into real estate and all that, and then business owner at the end. But it was they were taught and conditioned because they saw that if you bought property, it would go up in value. So their mindset was always the best thing for our children is give them an education and then to push them into buying some type of property. And that I never thought to them to buy an investment property first off. It was always, well, everyone owner occupiers, like that's like in their circle was that sort of success level. And back in those days, like my parents actually moved out of Sydney and up to the Gold Coast, which is a more affordable region at the time, for a similar reason, but also lifestyle changes. But yeah, it was ingrained to me, and it was constantly like, when are you buying a house? When are you buying a house? And people are up against that, so they've got that conditioning through probably a few generations. And like I'm for the owner occupied. Don't get me wrong. Like it's like there's just thinking of it going, well, as Jared said, what's your bigger goals? Because 9 times out of 10, the first home you buy is not going to be the one that you spend the majority of your life in, and you're going to be upsizing and downsizing throughout the journey. And that's where, rentvesting has come about in the last few years, and rightfully so, in sort of my opinion. But it's case by case, right, Stephen?